Well, welcome everybody. What a treat we have with us tonight. My name, you know my name, but my name is, for those who don't, is Lea Gilmore. I am here at Govans Presbyterian Church. Can I get an oh yeah? Yeah. Yeah. There you go. There you go. I am the Minister for Racial Justice and Multicultural Engagement. And this tonight is part of the Racial Justice Speaker Series, okay? And so we're so wonderfully thrilled that we have the speaker in the house. But I'm going to introduce her formally. Right now, you're going to hear from Maria Wong. I love her.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Maria, and I am a member of Govans Presbyterian Church. I also work for the nonprofit arts organization Common Ground on the Hill, which is underwriting support for tonight's program. We are recording tonight's program as part of our work as a Maryland Folklife Center of the Maryland State Arts Council. The video will be archived on the Common Ground on the Hill official YouTube channel, where you can find other Govans Music Monday programs and many other videos. While you're on YouTube, also make sure you check out the Govans Presbyterian Church YouTube channel, which includes recordings of sermons and most of the Govans Racial Justice Speaker Series. So this video might be in both places. There is a lot of great stuff, so I hope you take a look. Lea, back to you.
Thank you so much, Maria. Well, I get the wonderful benefit of introducing our speaker for tonight, Dr. Khadijah Z. Ali-Coleman is an award-winning performance artist, multi-genre writer, producing playwright, and filmmaker. She is the author of children's books, Mariah's Maracas. Oh, that sounds great. I love alliteration. And the 2023 Juneteenth weekend release, The Summoning of Black Joy, which she'll talk about tonight, a poetry collection. She is co-editor of the 2022 release, Homeschooling Black Children in the U.S. Dr. Ali-Coleman has been featured in the Washington Post, USA Today, The Guardian, the Financial Times, all the papers that I read on the airplane. I'm so excited. And more because of her work in the arts and education. She has been interviewed by various broadcast media outlets, including NPR, CNN, Slate, and local affiliates of NBC, Fox, and CBS. Recently and specifically because of her work in the Black homeschooling community. Guess what? She is the poet laureate for 2023 for Prince George's County, Maryland. And tonight, since COVID-19, she will be discussing how we pivoted in a world that was already on the verge of losing its mind. Amen. Dr. Ali-Coleman joins us for a talk on homeschooling Black children, finding peace through writing, remote work, in her new book, The Summoning of Black Joy. I love that. Let me say it again. The Summoning of Black Joy, a poetry collection. I introduce you to Dr. Ali-Coleman.
Wow. Hello. What a what your energy is so contagious, Leah. It's so wonderful to be here.
I'm faking it.
Oh my goodness. Well, you know what? You faking it well, because this Tuesday you're bringing sparkle to this Tuesday, and rarely do I get to do fun things on a Tuesday. So it's really nice to be here and see and receive
thrilled.
your positive energy.
Bless you. Bless you.
Hi, everybody. How are you? Thank you so much for coming in to spend Tuesday with us. I am very honored to be here. I had shared with Lea earlier that, so I learned one thing in Maria's introduction, that I have been saying the name of your institution wrong for over 15 years now by calling it Govans. And so my early interaction with your institution was in 2006 or 7, when my daughter, my 4-year-old at the time, attended your preschool, and she was part of the Fours group. And so this year she celebrated her 20th birthday. And so I consider the Baltimore, Towson area one of my other hometowns. I graduated from UMBC. I got my master's degree from Towson University, and I got my doctorate from Morgan State University, but I worked there off and on for 20 years. So I am kin, I am neighbor to you. And so Prince George's County is where I've lived since I was 13 years old. I was born in Washington, D.C., and I lived in Montgomery County before moving with my family to Prince George's County, where I live now. And as Leah said, I'm the poet laureate of Prince George's County, which is one of those really weird things that happen to you in midlife. And you're like, how did I get here? Do they really know who I am? Do they know what I talk about? They might find out soon. And so I've been the poet laureate now since May of this year. And a month into my position, I released this book, The Summoning of Black Joy, which is as Leah had mentioned, is a compilation of work written during COVID-19, but also some things that I've been performing or presenting off and on with my group. I'd say for like maybe the past 5 years with my group, Liberated Muse Arts Group, and we're a multidisciplinary performance group. Some of you who check out, if you watch any of the Millennium stage performances, live stream or in person from the Kennedy Center. My group, we've had the privilege of being able to perform there every year, really, for the past 4 years. COVID kind of put a dent in those kinds of things, but earlier this year we did a presentation honoring the very great Zora Neale Hurston. And so, yes, anyone a fan of Zora Neale Hurston? Okay, Lee, I see you. I see you, Maria. Awesome. So I am the executive director of the Hurston Wright Foundation. And before I became the executive director of the Hurston Wright Foundation, they had invited me to do a poem during their annual Legacy Awards celebration. And I decided to write a poem for the ceremony that was honoring Zora, called Zora Past the Sun. One of the things that I really love about Zora Neale Hurston was the fact that she wasn't just a novelist, but she was an anthropologist, a historian of sorts. She was a playwright. I'm a playwright. I actually have have produced or staged a lot of my plays, and have the privilege of doing that. And I consider myself a historian. So I just feel really kindred to Zora. And I love when she's written that she has had such a particular care for dialect. And her work really has revolved around the different cultures within the Black diaspora. And so this poem, Zora Past the Sun, I pull some of the words that she's included in her work. One of the things that I love is that she didn't only study cultures outside of the United States, but also looked at the different cultures, the microcultures within her own state of Florida. Eatonville is very popularly recalled as being her hometown, but she also did a lot of work in Miami observing the men who laid down the rails in Florida. So those of us who have taken the auto train along the Eastern Seaboard, Amtrak had the privilege of, traveling by railway on the Eastern Seaboard. She did a lot of anthropological work, talking to the men who did that work, calling it laying down the rails. And she captured the songs that they would sing as they were laying down the rails. And so a lot of that language. So I did extensive research in putting together the show that we presented earlier this year, but I had done a play earlier called In Her Words. And the Library of Congress, in case you're interested, has a lot of her work stored in digital archives, and you can actually hear her singing in her own voice if you were to visit the archives for free online. And so I opened this poem with a folk song called Halimafak, which is actually a song that you can hear. You can hear it on YouTube. I think someone snatched it from the Library of Congress and slapped it on YouTube, but you can actually hear Zora singing this song. So I open with this song in the poem, and then I close with it. It's called Halimafak. You may leave and go to Halifax, but my slow dragger will bring you back. Well, you may go, but this will bring you back. Hilltop high round them clouds and past the sun is where my Zora done gone, strumming tall tales watered high for ripe picking by greedy imaginations and thirsty heart patters, still longing for the lick of her griot tongue to moisten the memories her stories imprint on our souls. Zora is still weaving them words into quilts that wear patterns of blackness on each colorful square. I hear her laughing, jolly chortles of merciless wisdom capturing the dusky bleakness and wringing it dry until only sun-drenched glazes of merriment decorate the crevices of her tales, warming us wonderful as she beckons us closer. Put your foot up and stay a while, she is sure to whisper, as we are friended close with her latest tale, capturing language in its bare shape, naked and unyielding to the ironic violence of Anglo-pristineness with keys jangling. She splays open the universal cage, holding captive native tongues and dialect, yelling, "Youth free now!" And these words enter her worlds that become our own lands, her people becoming our family, and this process changes us, keeps changing us, shickalacking in furious frenzy as we read, and love, and know, and become, and grow, and read, and sing, and understand that our Zora may be hilltop high round them clouds and past the sun, but we, with our greedy imaginations and thirsty heart patters, are always there with her. You may leave and go to Halifax, but my slow dragger will bring you back. Well, you may go, but this will bring you back. Thank you. Yay! So that's in this book. This one of the pieces in this book. And as I said, I first presented and I wrote it for the Legacy Awards in 2018. And it's my only piece in here that's in tribute to Zora. But she definitely has been, I feel like as I've researched and learned more about her, I think I have added her to my mantle of icons, in terms of just how it just continues to grow, how I have high respect for her, particularly after the publishing of her book Barracoon, that is one of her most recent books, and it's a look at her conversation interviewing Cujo, who was at the time of her interview one of the oldest remaining survivors or founders of Africatown. And Africatown was founded by Africans who were on the last slave ship to arrive to America. So as you all recall, slavery or the import of enslaved people had been abolished even as slavery was still going on. And so the last ship of people was actually, what's the word? It just escaped me. When you have something that is illegal, and I'm thinking of prohibition, but what's the word when you have something that you're not supposed to be selling?
Contraband.
Contraband, that's it. And so all of the people on the ship were considered contraband. And so as legend goes, apparently they were let off the ship and the ship was burned, and then they were dispersed within the area, sold off, but a lot of them living still in a group. And when enslavement ended, they found each other and formed Africatown down south. There's an excellent documentary on Netflix right now called Descendant that talks about this area down south and makes mention to Cujo and those founding people. So I've just been talking, Leah. I don't know if this is what you intended, because once I get started, might be hard to shut me up. So I
No,
want
once you get started, it's hard for you to stop, and I love it. Don't stop. We're gonna ask people that if they have questions of Dr. Ali-Coleman Ali-Coleman to please put them in the chat, and I will ask them of her. Girl, you can sing. I love
oh,
it. I love it.
oh,
And I would
thank
love for you to teach me that song. I have a quick question for you. I
okay,
want you to read more from your book, The Summoning of Black Joy. The
okay.
title is absolutely amazing. I
Oh,
feel so much every time I utter the summoning Black Joy because I
oh,
feel I have to summons it so much. So
yes.
what motivated you to come up with that title?
I love you're the only person that's ever asked me that since June when I've been interviewed in bookstores and by folks, and no one has asked me that question. So it's actually a poem, and I'll share the poem. It's the title poem. It's called "The Summoning of Black Joy." But as I share it, you'll notice that a lot of what I speak of in the poem is really about releasing rage, releasing and being forthright with how you feel in order to exist and to be open to joy. And so my belief is that in order to summon joy, you actually have to acknowledge all of the other feelings that you are experiencing, that you are holding in. And there, for to have a supreme feeling such as joy, there is also the balance that comes with it, with knowing the profound and deep feelings of anger, of loss, of grief. But you can't acknowledge joy unless you acknowledge those feelings and then release them in a way where you're open to receive joy. And so that was really and it's so funny. Once it's synchronicity that you are asking me this, because I actually have written this poem, um, and immediately after I wrote it, I was part of the writing group Zora's Den, which is based in Baltimore,
Mhm.
and the leader of the group, Victoria Kennedy, actually said that Baltimore Promotions and Arts, who does the Martin Luther King event in Baltimore, and this was during COVID, was reached out to Zora's Den for poets to share poetry in the Martin Luther King, um, I guess, film that they did in lieu of having in-person things because of COVID. And I presented that poem
Wonderful.
on behalf of Zora's Den in Baltimore. So here I am again, being your
Good,
neighbor.
good.
And so,
Well,
but
we
that's
have a question. Well, we have a comment and a question
okay.
from some girl. You're just exciting all of us tonight. From Wendy Smith, who's presently in North Carolina, but she's a part of us. Thank you. She says, thank you so much for sharing with us today. I once had a young friend who shared your name, Khadijah. Can you tell me the origin of this name? And maybe talk a little bit about the power of names.
What a dynamic question. I absolutely love that question. And I absolutely love naming things. That is actually, that is my thing, my bag, as people say, right? I love naming. Naming is so important. And thank you, Wendy, for giving me the opportunity to tell my business about my name, because I absolutely love my name. My parents, I was born in the 70s. I was telling Lea offline before we opened that I will be 50 in December. And I am so excited. Like, that has been goals for me to be of grandmother age. My daughter's 20. I'm not trying to rush her to do anything, but I'm ready to be the fun grandmother, right? And so I grew up, I'm the oldest of 5 children. My mother passed in 2014, but she raised me for the majority of my life as a single mother with the help of my beloved grandparents. But my father has had challenges throughout his life, but the one thing that they did when they came together was make the decision to name me Khadijah Zakia Ali-Coleman. And my father, my mother was very young. Both of them were very young, but my mother was very young. They were exploring religion, but also opportunities to recognize their place in this world as Black people, to have ownership of who they are. And my father, whose birth name is James Coleman, he and my mother decided to give themselves African names, and they wanted to give me an African name. And at the time, they were introduced to the religion of Islam. And so they were practicing Muslims at the time. And Khadijah was the wife of the Prophet Muhammad. And many people will tell you that's what the name Khadijah means, wife of the Prophet. And she was the first believer of Islam. But we know that she existed before the religion came to be. And so the name before that actually meant great. But over the years, people have said that the name means believer or first wife, the faithful one, different things like that. But I like great because that was what it was before the religion came to be. It was really significant for me to find out earlier this year. For the very first time, I laid eyes on my original birth certificate. I had the copy that I was always carrying around, but I couldn't find it. So I had to request the official document from the hospital that is no longer around. I was born in Columbia Hospital for Women in DC. And I saw on my birth certificate that the hospital had left off the hyphen for my name. So my name on my birth certificate was Khadijah Zakia Ali-Coleman, with Zakia and Ali being two middle names. And it was a note where my parents had said, you need to correct this right now, because Ali-Coleman is her last name. And so I always correct folks when it comes to my last name, because it has never been just Ali or just Coleman. It has always been Ali-Coleman. And I always say that that's the greatest gift that my father has ever given me, was making the determination that I will be a representation of his freedom. So thank you for asking that question. And I actually have a poem about that. Would you like me to share that?
Yes, please.
Okay. And I didn't plan this. For everyone listening, I did not ask Wendy to ask that question. And this was on my set list. Synchronicity. All right, so it's actually called Ali-Coleman. My last name sounds like rebellious fury. It is inconvenient tongue movement, necessary and gratuitous, two full last names announcing one fully formed person. Tied together in defiance by a hyphen, tasting like soul food and sundown meditation, full-bodied audacity, carefree attitude rolling on the tongue wildly in feral domestic partnership, slave master and the holiest of jihads, a dash of union some pretend not to see, or too ignorant to understand how to use properly. I am not Miss Ali nor Miss Coleman, never have been. My last name is Ali-Coleman. It holds its own story between each vowel. It is the quiet remnant of brutal enslavement, the ringing clink of broken chains, a declaration by my father that he was a self-defining man who had outgrown the limitation of his cell outside and within. He, freshly liberated from prison after false accusation, had donned a new religion generously gifted by the Nation of Islam before fully rebuking his full government name, to fully emerge as the Muslim Baraka Ali. He grabbed his last name of Coleman and attached it firmly to Ali with the wisp of a line, creating the last name Ali-Coleman, to be placed carefully on my birth certificate during the early winter of 1973. While having the first name Khadijah made attendance taking akin to calculus for my teachers, when I was growing up, many of them displayed the lazy tendency often to choose part of my name to call aloud. I had the countering tendency to not respond until they said my entire last name or made sure to publicly inform them that it was not either or. Just like you can say, Olivia Newton-John, it's that simple. Remember Mary McLeod Bethune or Ida B. Wells Barnett? No? Well, you're going to learn today. I Googled my last name on Monday, and I am still the only Ali-Coleman with a hyphen I can find. It still aggravates me a bit how less than obvious my ancestry is with this name, I confess. My last name hides cleverly the sharecropper hands of my great-grandmother Susie Lewis's father and the lilting laugh of my great-grandmother Lucinda Davis, who sings to me in my dreams. And although their last names are not attached to mine, they celebrate my uniqueness. My last name does not acknowledge my beloved grandfather, Calvin Henry Holt, or even my own mother, who replaced her last name 3 times before her death in 2014. It was never Ali-Coleman or the union of them both. I am the only Ali-Coleman I know. Evidence of my daddy's freedom, rebellious fury, my name's indignant birth has marked me for a life of entrapment and paradise. Religiously and racially profiled, my last name bucks at familiar European names that shudder at its unruliness. It stands menacingly over the bland sameness of last names naked of a hyphen. This name leads some to assume my identity as maleness, wearing a kufi and selling a bean pie, built brawn, hovering above the emaciated masculinity of mediocrity. This name shouts in the lost language of my captured ancestors, punches the face of entitlement and redlining and census records documenting my kin as sold property, as chattel to be loaned out. I wear the last name in memorial to the moment my father felt ready to envision his life anew, to the second the Creator deemed me worthy of wearing a creation crafted specifically for me, with no predecessor, no model. The lack of repetition is sometimes stifling, always a reflection of liberation. Thank you.
Yes. I had to unmute for that because it was so good.
Oh,
Yes,
thank you
yes.
so much.
And Wendy says, thanks so much for this explanation. I will remember this I will remember this if I ever see Khadijah again.
Oh,
And
yes.
remember, Khadijah, this is Dating B. That was the lead character on A Living Single.
That's right. I was in
Queen
college.
Latifah.
That's
You
right.
were, yeah,
I
Queen
was in college.
Latifah played. That's right.
Yeah.
Khadijah.
And you
That's
know,
the first visual I got when I was
right.
reading.
And that's what everyone says. And I was like, I was born before that show started. But when they see me, it was an episode on the show where the man she was dating in one episode, he said to her, Khadijah, Khadijah, I need you, I need you.
Oh yeah.
And so I get that on the street a lot.
I'm gonna have to remember that. I'll remember it. I think we'll end with that. Okay. You know, as your poetry's very, and it's manifests so many feelings as you're reading it. I mean, it's a very visual, it's very artistic, it's just beautiful. But you're also involved in homeschooling.
Well, I was, yes.
Yeah, and I homeschooled my youngest son for 2 years.
Oh, fantastic.
For seventh and eighth grades.
Oh, wow.
So I have a bit of a relationship with it. But how did that become something that you were so motivated by?
So that's a great question. So speaking of Govans, my daughter had a fantastic experience there, and we actually moved back to Prince George's County when I left Morgan. I had a job opportunity in DC, and we moved back to Prince George's County with her dad, and she was not able to start kindergarten because she wasn't of age. And so that was when we did homeschooling until I was able to put her in a private school in the area. And then when she started, so she did private school for a while, and then she was able to go to public school after kindergarten because, she had already been in school for first grade. And so she had tested as being talented and gifted, and she was in a school, and what I noticed was that what this particular school meant by talented and gifted was just more work. So a lot of the things that she really enjoyed about learning was really lost in just the busyness and the work overload. And this is fourth grade by this time. And so I remember she was playing the cello at the time, and the cello is bigger than her. And I remember just seeing her walk to my car when I was picking her up and just looking exhausted. And I actually have a picture of her literally getting in the car, in less than 5 minutes in the car, she's out. She's just tired. And so that was the first thing, like red flag, was like, huh. Then I got a call from her teacher asking for a parent conference. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what did she do? And I'm asking her, like, I have to talk to your teacher. What are you up to in school? And she's like, I don't know, I'm doing good as far as I know. And so when I talked to the teacher asked me to have a conversation with her because she finishes her tests and all of her work before everyone else. But once she does that, she starts writing, because my daughter loves like composition books, and she would write in them, and she'd like to decorate the front of them and make collages and things like that. So apparently she was pulling this out after and writing, because she's a writer. And the teacher said this was distracting the other students who hadn't finished their work, and she wanted me to talk to my daughter about putting her head down instead of writing. And I said, so instead of you creating a writing corner or an area for children who have finished, you want my daughter, who is in school, to stop writing and to put her head down. I don't know. So at that moment, I really felt like I was being asked to be complicit in furthering this disillusion of my daughter's love of learning. I mean, she was writing on her own. This isn't something where I signed her and I said, here's a book, you start writing. This was her decision to do this and to engage in this. And as an educator, I was very excited and just thrilled to hear that this is what she's doing when she's away from me. And the teacher is like really demonizing this and asking for me to help. And so I had a conversation. The teacher was younger than me. So we began to have a conversation where then the teacher started unloading on me all these things she had to do. And I was empathetic in that moment, or at least appeared to be, but fuming inside, and made the decision at that moment that this will be my daughter's last year at this school. And so that was really the catalyst that led to that decision, because people often ask me, my daughter wasn't doing bad, or what is considered bad. But I felt that it was this tragic situation where it was an effort for compliance rather than actually strengthening or encouraging behaviors that indicate that a child is really engaging with this learning process. And so I began homeschooling her for 5th and 6th grade. And then in 6th grade, she declared that she wanted to do what I think every young person at some point in their life, especially since the internet, have said they wanted to do, which is be a YouTube star, right? And so in order to be a YouTube star, I, rather than clutch the pearls and be like, girl, really, are you what? I was like, okay, so if we're thinking about a YouTube star, what are some of the things or behaviors or traits, characteristics that a YouTube star has to make them successful? And so we eventually got to, they have to have charisma, have stage presence, have the ability to be able to speak and think extemporaneously, all these wonderful things. And so she actually helped me create like what a curriculum would look like to prepare for this career. And so it was a school near us that was a performing arts school that was having auditions. And so I shared with her what the criteria was to audition for theater at this school, preparing a monologue. I thought that would kind of get her in the mindset of auditioning and all of these things. She was off book it was actually I had never seen anything. With my group Liberated Muses, one of our members who is a genius, and I can give her something, she'll memorize it by tomorrow. And this is with a 50-year-old brain, right? But my daughter, I mean, she was off book within that same day and told me, and I didn't believe her. And this is like a story with us, is that she'll tell me something and I'll be like, okay. And she's right. So she was off book it was something from The Wizard of Oz. She memorized it. And I said, oh my gosh. So you really going to audition for this school? She was like, yeah, let's try it. Long story short, I know it's too late, but she got into the school and she decided she had such a great time with that whole experience. And the school was really great, where they had the children who currently attended that school to help with facilitating the audition. So they would go and get the children and show them around the school and talk to them. So that really was exciting for her. So she asked me, could she go back, could go to this school, so really return to school, but it was a performing arts school. She did that. So we're the opposite of you, Lea. You homeschooled for 7th and 8th grade. So she went to this school for 7th and 8th grade, for middle school. And a lot of people asked me, they said she went to middle school. That's when people usually take the children out. And so she did that for 7th and 8th grade. And then she asked me, could she return to homeschooling? And we homeschooled for high school. And so she's currently at the University of San Francisco. She got a full scholarship. She earned her associates while homeschooling for high school from the Community College of Baltimore. Here you all go again. So she she graduated from CCBC when she was 17, and then started at the University of San Francisco. And so she should be graduating this year.
That's wonderful. That is
Yeah.
wonderful. We actually moved to Perry Hall. I mean, I'm not going to take up time because we don't have much of it. For school, and I was just, my son who has Asperger's just really rallied
Yeah,
after the homeschooling experience.
that's
I did not rally. It was hard, but it
oh
was
yeah.
worth it. It was worth every moment of it, and I really thank my husband. I had a very supportive partner.
But let me ask you, when you say it's hard, was the hard part actually implementation, or really stepping outside of this paradigm that we
Mm.
have of being in traditional school settings? And so this idea of what learning looks like is often not necessarily what we have to create in our own home education situation. What was the challenge?
Definitely the latter,
Mm-hmm.
because the American system is hugely and influential on us personally and
Mm-hmm.
the way we approach it. But once I did give myself permission, it's so interesting you asked that. I gave myself permission to
Yes.
go to Gettysburg and talk about
Yes.
the Civil War, what happened.
Yes.
We would go on field trips. We
That
would
was
do
it.
things, go to museums.
Yep.
It was such a wonderful experience.
Yes.
But
That's
I
so,
had to give myself specifically permission
yes.
not to
Yes.
do the same old thing.
And that's very hard. And that is, I would say, 90% of what the challenge is for many people who begin homeschooling. And so, so when I was at Morgan getting this doctorate that I mentioned to you all, it was my doctorate is in education with an emphasis
Hmm.
on higher ed and community college leadership. So I was actually teaching at CCBC. That's why my daughter had asked, could she attend CCBC, because she had actually started a community college in Prince George's County. But she was like, I just want to come where you're teaching because it's easier
Hmm.
and I like it better. And so that's why I decided to get my doctorate. I've been teaching for all these years in community college. I was a college administrator, and I had to defend my dissertation on March 13th, 2020. And if you all recall, March 16th is when the country went into quarantine.
Right.
But
Right.
by that week before, places were shutting down because people were getting sick. And so I was supposed to do my dissertation defense in person at Morgan. They called me the day before and was like, it's not going to happen because the campus is closed. So we're going to do it online. And I was one of the first in the country to do a dissertation defense online. And Friday the 13th. And my dissertation was perceptions of preparedness for African American dual enrolled homeschool students, perceptions of preparedness for community college. And so when everyone thought I was crazy in my department. They may not have said that to my face, but 80% of our communication is nonverbals, right? And so so once quarantine happened, and then all of the schools are shutting down and not gracefully transitioning into these virtual learning spaces, all of those places that you named in my bio that I've been in the media is that I then started talking about homeschooling and being a resource. And so I actually was offered a book deal right when I defended my dissertation to publish my dissertation, but I wanted to publish an anthology of voices of Black parents and researchers, because when I did write my dissertation, there was a lack of research really from Black parents, but specifically from Black children who were being homeschooled. And my dissertation focused on about 8 young people who were currently being homeschooled, and what they perceived to be the ways that homeschooling impacted their presence within, that were dual enrolled. So they were being homeschooled, but they were also enrolled in community college. And so I started Black Family Homeschool Educators and Scholars in 2020. And we're now an active Facebook group. And I started to facilitate with my co-founder at the time, Cheryl Field Smith. She and I no longer work together, but she was a co-editor of the book. And we started these teach-ins where we were really serving as a resource for Black parents who wanted to transition into homeschooling. And so when you say that, so I'm no longer a homeschooling mother because my baby girl is
she's 20,
right? She's gonna always be my baby girl, even when she's 50.
I know. I have
right.
one
That's my boo.
that age.
But that's really where my role is now, is being a resource to parents who have chosen that, and telling them, just like I said to you, Leah, to really confront our ideas about what learning looks like, what it is, because folks were always asking my daughter, what does homeschooling look like? And she was like, oh, we go on trips, we go to plays, we go to the museums. And I said, when you tell people like that, they may call truant office on me, because it doesn't sound like learning is happening. But we would laugh, but that is because it's really hard for people to understand that learning happens in ways outside of this traditional view of being in the classroom and really rote learning and instruction in this 8-hour day, when really a lot of parents are learning with homeschooling that it can, it happens throughout the day and in many ways. So.
Well, it's very liberating. I should have talked to you about 25 years ago.
I wouldn't have been any help 25 years ago.
No, you would have been quite young. But our pastor is here. We're going to give him a few seconds to say hello. I can tell you again that you are definitely in the right place, because we are your fellow progressives.
Yes.
We are thinkers. We are a church that is welcoming to everyone, no matter what their circumstances are. We love spirituality.
Oh, you don't have to sell me on that. That's why I chose the church for this, put my baby in when she was in preschool. I love the church, love the energy. And so it's just, this is what really excited me, hearing from you and being invited to be part of this. And I told her, I said, the church where your preschool was, I'm doing an interview with them. She said, what? She said, oh my goodness. Right. It's to the point where she asked people in San Francisco, do they know me? Because she says that the weirdest, she said, you know everybody and you have the weirdest experiences. And so she was really excited to know that I would be speaking with you all today.
Oh, well, we're really excited to have you here. We're really excited that our pastor has joined us.
Yay.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Dr. Ali-Coleman, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate the time that you're giving to the church tonight.
Oh, well, this is a pleasure. And I just would say that we really, really, really love the experience that we had. I guess it's like 16 years ago when my daughter was in preschool. But I was really impressed with the model. That was a very Montessori like based model in the classroom. I do recall that that the teachers would say, Kari is doing great. She does really like that writing station. And I would say that is what inspired me to put in our house. I went to IKEA and got this little miniature desk for her. And so wherever we lived, we would, as you know, as she grew, she always had a writing space that she first encountered when she was at Govans.
Oh,
So
wow.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your kids, our kids might have been in school, in the preschool together. My daughter was in the preschool maybe about 16 years ago.
Oh,
So,
wow. Okay. Well,
yeah.
we have to chat about that because I know I
Well,
have some pictures.
I usually in these things give a plug for why everybody should come to Govans, but every person on the call is from Govans already, and and you're very excited about Govans. I don't think you're in Baltimore though, right? You're not in
Not
Baltimore.
right now. I
Yeah.
probably will be. I feel like I flip and flop back and forth, up 95 and back. So
Yeah.
not right now.
Well, join us anytime online or on Zoom or on Facebook Live for our worship services.
Come sing.
Yeah,
Yes.
Thank you
come
for
sing.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
instead of inviting the audience to join Govans Presbyterian, I'm going to invite the speaker, and you're always welcome anytime.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you
Right.
so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please, Dr. Ali-Coleman, could you read some more of your poetry? You said something very, very profound when I was reading. You said the world has lost its mind. Sometimes we feel like the world has lost its mind. It's wonderful how you directly address that, you know, ways of finding our mind. Because, I think we really need each other.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about love as a foundation. It sounds so idealistic, but somebody has to have ideals.
Mm-hmm.
So it's us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So please share with us more.
Okay. So I did want to I just feel like it's appropriate with what is happening in the world, excuse me, to speak about this place that we call Palestine. I know that it took me a while to put into words exactly what my thoughts are and what my feelings are, but largely because I feel that we are socialized a lot of times not to name a thing. That's
Mm.
why Wendy's question about naming, I'm telling you, like, it's just synchronicity all throughout this evening, in terms of the significance of, when people say speaking truth to power, it's really about saying that this is what is happening, this is what it is, this is what we've seen before, this is what we're seeing now. And when we don't do that, it's really akin to this idea of history repeating itself. And the only time that something can repeat itself and when the lesson isn't learned is because a thing has not been named. And as an educator who I introduce my students often to the word process. Let's process this. I'm a process person. I'm a system. I like to analyze systems and processes, identify patterns, and all of those things that you would think would make me really good with math. That's another poem that I won't share today because my mother was a mathematician. But I have all of the skills and tool
My
sets,
mother too.
except for when it is like I stop right there when it comes to actually doing the math problem. But I am a process and systems person. And so with Palestine and Israel conflict that's happening right now, a lot of it, and as a Black woman, and who is a educator and a historian, it's about naming the thing. And that is why I wrote this poem maybe 3 days ago to articulate my thoughts on what's happening. And so I would like to share that with you. And it's called When We Speak of Palestine. We are told that we should not, that we do not know what we are saying, that we are foreigners and uneducated on the history of the land and the history of a struggle, that we do not know the full story. But we who are descendants of a colonized people, who have the faded chattel brand still engraved in our skin, know history. We know the cryptic silence when our oppression shall not be named, when government policy enforces our segregation, when history books erase the existence of our towns that were bombed and drowned and massacred, lands only to be handed to the terrorists who are never named, never called out, and reminded daily of the atrocities they have invoked. When we speak of Palestine, we speak from the knowing of the flagging exhaustion of having to announce your humanness. Pray for the safety to leave your home at night and return alive. Arm your children with enough love and encouragement to build them up just enough so that they don't intimidate, so that they don't get to anything that might justify their murder. When we speak of Palestine, we speak about the state-sanctioned violence that we know all too well. We call it out when we cry for Oscar Grant, for Tamir Rice, for Mike Brown, for Philando Castile, for Freddie Gray, and the names that did not make their way to an activist sign. When we speak of Palestine, we know what we are speaking of war funds that materialize before health care and school loan forgiveness and safe neighborhoods. We speak of armed militia in schools, whether we call them security or the police. We know of what we speak. We know that when we are told not to speak, not to name a thing, that we are being demanded to be complicit in our own oppression. We know that our silence is the gateway to the repetition of the violence that all of my ancestors have seen in their lifetime, the violence that has disrupted each decade of my own. When we speak of Palestine, we are speaking into power the want for occupation, colonization, violence, and destruction to end so that our children will finally know peace.
Wow, that was so amazing.
Thank
I
you.
mean, so well articulated, just all of the feelings that I have as a Black woman watching this happen.
Yeah.
That we've been here before, we've seen it. So well done, so well written.
Thank you.
Can you we would like to know, how can we get the Summoning of Black Joy?
So
I think I'm gonna write a song called The Summoning of Black Joy. That's how much I love your title.
I love it. I love it. So it is available on Amazon. It is the only bookstore right now that has copies, because I think we sold them out at Mahogany Books, but Sankofa Books has copies. And so those are the two places right now. So I self-published it. And I have a book that will be coming out next year called For the Girls Who Do Too Much. And so the poem that I just shared will be in that collection, along with Ali-Coleman will be, that was the the one about my name, that will be in that collection as well. So yeah.
Well, I just cannot thank you enough for sharing your truth, sharing. I loved hearing about your daughter and just sharing the realities of what is going on right now,
Well, thank
what
you
is
for having me.
happening. And we definitely will love to welcome you back. Can you leave us with a poem?
Definitely. I was going to leave with The Summoning of Black Joy. I was going to
Yes.
leave with that. So let me get myself together. All right. The Summoning of Black Joy. A poem for moments when hope seems bleak. Reclaim your thunder and your rage from the sunken swamp of your insecurities, where your true self knows no sunset. Be informed that your joy cannot emerge into a land that bears the fruits of your complicit silence, that kills your spirit with each hollow nod, each time you agree to a world that is committed to dismantling you whole, exiling joy from your vastness. Today, unshoulder the foreign weight that you have held without compensation, slipping your toes into the sands of satisfaction and self-understanding. Commit yourself to yourself, pledging allegiance to your right to be, to become, to enjoy, to discern, to discover, to recover, to ignite, to excite, to unleash, to design and to find all that makes you marvel at this world that you have fantastically had a hand in creating. Reclaim your thunder and your rage. Defy all the agents who seek to mute the lofty grace of your blossoming. Strip them of their permissions to manhandle your sweetness and discard your dignity. Keep close the password to further entry from the unworthy. Glory in your unabashed shining, for you are light eternal, beckoning the promise of bliss.
Oh, yes.
Yay!
Yay, yes, yes. Glory in your shining and all those wonderful, wonderfully articulated words.
Oh,
I
thank
cannot
you.
tell you, Dr. Ali-Coleman,
Oh,
thank you so much for being with us tonight.
thank you
Thank
for
you,
having
Maria and G.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Maria and G. And Wendy, for your fabulous question. Every time I hear Khadijah, I'm going to think about it. And Tiffany and David and Tanya. They're all members of our racial justice. And Sylvia and Lisa Beecham. It's been a wonderful evening. You've been an amazing guest, and I will definitely be purchasing your book.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for all of your positive energy. I appreciate it. What a great Tuesday. You can't say that a lot of
Yes, a
times, but what a
Tuesday.
great Tuesday.
Right, right. What a wonderful Tuesday.
We really, it's been amazing.
Oh,
That's Tanya Morrell. She's the chair of our subcommittee on education and engagement.
Oh, wonderful. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. We are really honored to have you. This was incredible.
Oh, thank you
Thank you,
so
Tanya.
much. Well, I hope to see you all, and I will keep Lea posted of events, and I hope I get to make my way to Baltimore in 2024 with Liberated Muse. I'm trying to do some things in Baltimore with Hurston Wright.
Yeah.
And so I will keep you posted, because maybe those will be some things that you all would like to come to. Hurston Wright Foundation has been around since 1990, was co-founded by Marita Golden, the author, and the mission is to mentor, discover, and honor Black writers. And so we have readings, we have classes. Just finished producing the Legacy Awards. Gosh, it was 2 weeks ago. Don't you know how you do a big event and then you're tired after, and then time just kind of, it's a blur?
Yes.
So it feels like the Legacy Awards was yesterday. It's on the 26th.
Oh, I
That's
know.
what happens. Yeah. So I will keep you posted for anything, because you might
Please
want to come
do.
out to like readings and things like that.
Because we would definitely also love to support your work. Because
Oh,
you're doing
wonderful.
incredible work, you know.
Thank you.
And the Black homeschooling is a wonderful conversation that needs to be had. And a lot of people need to talk about it with people who know.
Oh, wonderful. Yes. So if
I
you all
wish it
know,
would have existed.
if you all know, folks, we have a Facebook group for parents who are homeschooling, and I'm going to be putting out putting on a virtual teach-in in January. So I'll share that with you, Lea, too,
Okay,
when I have the
definitely.
materials.
Okay, thank you so much. And I love saying your name, Khadijah the Ali-Coleman, PDD. Welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you. Thank you, everybody. Bye.